Welcome to the Inspired by Jacqueline podcast, a refreshing place for women struggling with entrepreneurship, faith, or infertility. Stay tuned for today's episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another episode of Inspired by Jacqueline. I have another amazing special guest. It's Karla Levit, and a little bit about Karla. She is a dedicated fertility, maternal health, and wellness coach. She specializes in guiding women through the emotional complex journey of conceiving after experiencing pregnancy loss and infertility. Her mission is to offer compassionate, evidence-based support, which is amazing, empowering women to nurture their bodies and minds towards a hopeful future. This is exactly what I needed 30 years ago. But welcome, Karla. And anything else you want to add to that?
Thank you, Jacqueline, for having me. I'm really, really excited to have this conversation with you. So excited to be here.
So let's start with one of my favorite questions. How do you start your mornings?
Well, once my husband goes off to work and the kids go to school or on their activities, I like to take my favorite part is a cup of my cafecito. And if the weather is nice, I love to go outside. We recently moved from the city into the suburbs, and we have a beautiful, beautiful backyard with these huge oak trees. And I just pull a chair from the shed with my cafecito and my dog, and I just sit there. So I carve out 10 to 15 minutes to just either ground, listen to the birds, journal, or do some meditation or whatever I'm feeling called to really set the tone for the day. I love doing that. I know it's just so important. It really sets the tone for the day.
Awesome. And do you feel, or have you noticed within the last few years since you started, that it helps in some form to boost your energy or to give you a more productive day?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think because we're just so conditioned to go, 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 when you don't stop and when you don't allow your cup to be filled, you can't give to other people. You have to fill your cup first. You have to energize yourself. You have to give yourself that time. It's okay to give yourself that time. I know that we have endless lists as women. The expectations are so high. Our expectations for ourselves are so high, but we need to do that self-care. And it's
And
only 15 minutes. You have 15 minutes in your day.
I know we do. And I'm gonna be biased because I too start with my cafecito. So it's like for the tea lovers, we love you, but cafecito is like the way for me to start.
I couldn't survive without cafecito. I mean, I could have cafecito all day, but I know that's not great for you. So I try and keep it just for the morning.
Yes, yes. Well, I'm curious, what kind of coffee do you like?
Oh, Bustelo. It has to
Ah,
be dark.
yes, my
Dark, dark,
girl.
dark. Dark, dark. As dark as, I mean, I like spent some time in Italy. I mean, that was amazing, but it has to be dark. If my husband by chance waters it down, I have to throw it out. Brew another one.
Oh, that's my coffee. I add a few flavors here and there, but Bustelo is like the prime ingredient.
Oh yeah.
So let's chat about fertility myths, right? I have been doing a lot of research, and then over the last 30 years, since the moment that I was told I was challenged with fertility and to through today, there are a lot of different myths, right? And there are the myths that we grow up with, and then there are the myths of society, right? So what fertility myths in the Latino community have you heard of or have you experienced when it comes to motherhood?
Well, I think in general, I think we've all grown up around this idea that Latinas are like they're over sexualized, sexy
They
Latina,
just
fine
pop out
Latina.
babies.
Yeah, and then I think then that leads to people believing that we're hyper fertile,
Yeah.
right? And then, I just did a post about this. It's called Confessions of the Infertile Latina. Like
Mm.
all the conflicting ideals, because then, you know, you don't want to be that teen pregnancy statistic either,
Mm-hmm.
right? Growing up, your parents are like, you know, do good in school, get a good job, be independent, have your own career, make money, don't rely on anyone, right? You're trying to do all those things, trying to build that life. That takes time, right?
Yeah.
So we end up, at least from my experience, end up in my 30s. I hadn't found my partner yet. I didn't have children yet. And so then I became vieja, you know, ¿qué estás esperando? When are you
What are
going
you
to have
waiting for?
children? El
Yeah.
anillo pa' cuándo? I mean, then it's like all these things, and you're
Yeah.
like, okay, well, I wanted to feel financially secure,
Mm,
emotionally secure. I wanted to be safe with my partner. I wanted to feel safe. I
mm,
wanted to bring children into this world consciously as a conscious parent. And so those things take time. They don't
yeah.
happen overnight. Certainly wasn't going to happen for me in my 20s. And I mean,
Mm,
in my 20s, I was not ready to be a parent. No way. I mean, I think about the growth I go through every year. You know, I
mm,
reflect on that. And I really feel like everything happens for a reason. And if anything is for sure, if anything is fact, is that women are having children later in life.
mhm.
That is settling. That is steadily increasing. And so I think everybody else needs to acknowledge this and catch up with that statistic.
That's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is true. And the same with me, just growing up, I was an only child with my mom. And but my mom was one of nine and my dad was one of 15. So I'm
Yeah.
thinking no one had this conversation. I did hear of one, family member that lived in Puerto Rico that she just didn't want to have kids,
Mm,
right? But that was way different than
mhm.
not being able to have kids, by choice.
Yeah.
It was just a whole conflicting thing when I heard, oh, you're infertile.
Yeah.
So yeah, all those learning lessons. And for me, it was the same. I went to college. I was first generation college and first generation, so many different things after that, that it's like, okay, now it's time for my life, close to my 30s also,
Mm,
to then find out that I couldn't. So
yeah. I think,
definitely, mhm,
yeah, the pressure is there's a lot of pressure. And then I also feel growing up, there was a lot of you have to be independent, trust no one, don't tell people your business. It's a calladita te ves más bonita, you know, so it's like also your voice being taken away as well, you know, like
yeah,
you feel like this huge responsibility to achieve things for your parent because they gave so much for you. And I'm not saying that that's not true because it certainly
right.
is true. I know all of us first generation really recognize the sacrifices that our parents made for us to
Hmm.
give us a better life. Absolutely. But that doesn't take away, you know, the feelings that we have and you know, the responsibilities we have and how that affects us emotionally, physically, and mentally as
Yeah,
we walk through our life, you know, walk our path as first generations in this country as well.
exactly. No, that's so true. So when did you learn about, your fertility challenges? And if you're comfortable in share your journey as to what you went through.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. I feel so comfortable sharing because this is the whole point of my mission is to share my story. So I can let women and Latinas understand that you're not alone. You're not alone. There are so many of us suffering and most of us suffering in silence and isolation. So my fertility journey lasts 10 years, a decade, a long, long time. And it started with the stillbirth of my daughter, Paloma. I had a placental abruption at 23 weeks. Now, the story of how everything happened with her is a long story, but the death of my daughter as my first pregnancy really traumatized me. There was a lot of shame and guilt. And, you know, the whole idea of what I thought my life was going to be was shattered. And
Mm,
it took me a very, very, very long time to have the courage to address all of those traumas I had been storing, holding in my body. When we tried to continue, or when we tried to get pregnant after the loss of our daughter, we were able to get pregnant 2 years later. And I know that there's so many platitudes that go around when you're trying to conceive, you know, go on vacation, relax. And I
hmm.
really those really drive me wild because it really takes away the struggles that so many women go through. But my daughter, Isabella, was conceived in Positano. And it was the first time my husband and I had emotionally, physically, and energetically connected. There was not only fear and trauma in my body, but also in his. God forbid this happened to us again. And
Yeah.
so there is truth in that in some aspect, but it goes a lot deeper. And so Isabella was born, and I was very scared throughout the whole pregnancy. It was a long 9 months, but she was born and she's here. She's a beautiful, beautiful little girl. And so we wanted to continue to grow our family, and we ended up having three more early term miscarriages and had three DNCs. And at that point, I was 38, and my OB, whom I deeply love and respect, said, you know what, Karla, you're of advanced maternal age, geriatric, and high risk. So three labels that really put a lot of fear in me. And so
Yeah.
he said, we can't do this anymore. Let's do IVF. It's going to be the easy solution. And so I believed him. And we went forward with IVF, even though when I walked into that clinic, I really felt this block for me intuitively, but I ignored it and I pushed forward because so deeply ingrained in me is this idea that if you push and you work hard enough and you do everything you're supposed to do, then you will reap the rewards.
Right.
So we had two successful rounds, 22 eggs retrieved, genetically tested embryos, three genetically female tested embryos, and we did one transfer failed, second transfer failed, third transfer failed. And my RE called me and said, you need a surrogate. And it was at that
Wow.
moment, yeah, it was at that moment that I said, okay, clearly I cannot continue. I had a very difficult conversation with my husband, and we both decided together that emotionally, physically, mentally, and financially, we could not push forward in this process. And so we made the difficult decision to not continue with IVF, knowing that that could have been the end of our family. And we decided to let God, universe, fate, see what it had in store for us. And, during that time, while I was doing IVF, I had begun really my healing work. I had begun really getting into meditation and visualizations, breath work. I really dove deep into Dr. Joe Dispenza, and I was feeling like something was changing within me. And so when we stopped doing IVF, I had been doing all that work while going through the process. But I think because of that work and because of my healing, I was able to conceive my son 4 months later
Wow.
naturally at 41 and gave birth to him at 42. And it really
Wow.
was like an experiment with destiny for me. It was
Mm-hmm.
like, you know what? This man in this white coat with all these degrees and,
Yep.
this is his work, is his job, sure. But nobody's going to tell me when I'm done with my journey. My husband and I will decide that. And so it wasn't like I was trying to prove him wrong, but I was trying to prove something to myself,
Mm.
and that I wasn't going to stop until I was ready to stop. And at that moment, I wasn't. And really, my manifestation, my everything that I had imagined and done the work on came to life. Like even this house that we live in this backyard, I
Mm.
had this vision of a little boy, which is very funny because I want to tell you, Jacqueline, we are very women heavy in both
Mhm.
sides of the family, all women. And so my husband is here,
Wow.
like swimming in the land of women, and embryos were females. So when
Wow.
I was having this vision, when I was practicing this meditative visualizations, it always was a little boy that appeared in my
Mm.
vision. And I always said, Karla, stop. It's not going to be a boy. Come on, you know this. And I was like, no, 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 Karla, turn that part of your brain off and allow yourself to really feel what this is going to be. And it always
Right.
was a little boy in a big backyard, kind of like toddler age. And then it would go to like me and him walking down the aisle to his wedding. And when I found out it was a boy, my husband wouldn't believe it.
Oh
And
my gosh.
even more amazing, which just shows the power that we have, the power as women,
Mm-hmm.
is I had this realization that this was the backyard, this house, this is the little boy, toddler age, running through the backyard. When I had this like moment of like, wow, is so powerful. We do not have to put all our power. We don't have to give all of our power away. We can take some of that back and look inward, work on ourselves. It doesn't always have to be what the medical community tells us we should be doing. We don't always have to be in the passenger seat. I'm not saying we need to be in the
And
driver's seat, but I'm saying we need to have a
yeah.
more collaborative relationship there.
And by you sharing that, I'm visualizing something where that's so true, right? First of all, we feel like we're in this alone.
Yes.
And then when we give our trust and openness to that medical society, we're like, they're the ones we're entrusting because they're the ones with the know-how, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so then we get attached to that because then nobody else understands and we
Yeah.
feel like it's just us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I can see that happening. And for me, it was just me losing my sense of self,
Oh,
my
yeah.
sense of being a woman.
Mm.
And basically, I call it losing my womanhood. And
Yeah.
all that was in my mind was just becoming a mother, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, I had to hold on to my faith, and that's what kind of really, not kind of, that's what really saved me. And when I say save, I mean that literal, like I was so in the darkest place. So would you say, and I think you shared a little bit, the process that you took internally, meditation, all that stuff, is that what helped you through the fertility challenge journey?
I think so. I think, well, I think there was so much trauma, and it's not just from losing my daughter Paloma. I think it comes from my childhood. We all have our childhood
Mm-hmm.
trauma. We all had things happen to us that really caused us a lot of pain. And so when I embarked on this fertility journey, and then all of these things happened that were very painful, I had to really go back and unravel everything and really get into my subconscious programming. What was I saying to myself? I was saying, nothing in life comes easy. You know, ev everything I really want doesn't happen. I'm not worthy. Like, if something's wrong with me, I'm broken. All of that programming, it was just automatic, and I really had to become aware of it, become aware of the things that I was actually telling myself, because in that moment on this journey, I felt so broken too.
Mm,
And I was waiting for someone, like a little Walt Disney,
savior.
yes, a Walt Disney movie. Like, I'm the little Latina princess. Like, who's gonna come on and
Tinkerbell.
rescue, yeah, or something like that, And it's like that's what we're taught too. We have to
Yeah.
realize this. We are taught these things at such a young age, right? So it's a delicate balance of being independent and then knowing how to ask for help. It's a delicate balance of okay, there is something maybe medically wrong with me, but I am not powerless in this situation. I am
Mm,
powerful. My intuition, my body, my knowing the things I can do to help myself. There are things you can do. And maybe it doesn't lead to children, and sometimes it doesn't, but you still found your voice, your
yes.
power, your savior through your faith. And
Yeah.
that's really what it's about, to return to self.
Hmm.
Return to who you were and are in your heart, in your soul, authentically embodying that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's exactly, I mean, once I made that mind shift, I was able to, I felt breathe. I felt like I was able, there were a lot of changes, a lot of things that happened once I took that step and said, that's it, like no más. I,
Yeah,
I just
can
can't.
do.
I need to
Yeah.
choose survival versus being in this darkness. And everyone experiences everything differently. Again, for me, it was 10 years as well, the
Yeah.
journey. And it's something that you feel like it's, when I say 10 years, I felt like it was 5 years, right? But it's like when then you look at it, it's like, wow, my journey was for 10 years. And you look at yourself and you should be patting yourself in the back because it's
Oh, yeah.
like, wow, I endured all of that, feelings, emotions, And that's just one part of it, but also the misunderstanding and confusion of the financial piece as well, because insurance, that's a whole different conversation that can add to that emotional state, the back and forth. Oh, yes, we cover it. No, we don't cover it. We cover this, not that, and all these other things that can add to that. So, with your journey and all that, what sparked this journey of becoming a coach and offering services to women to help them transform or nurture themselves, like taking your experience, right? And for those who are going through fertility challenges, whether it's a loss or infertility or IVF. So give me the story of how this connected one thing to the other.
Yeah, well, I spent 20 years in finance.
Ah,
I was a good little Latina daughter. I went to school, I got
we
the
are so
job.
connected because I was in accounting. So,
Yeah, yeah, and I was working in New York City, and I
hmm
was doing well, and but I was never fulfilled. So during the pandemic, it changed so many lives, right? It shifted all of us, I think. And had the opportunity to work from home, and I realized like it has been so hard for me to have this little girl, birth this little girl, and I'm missing out on so many moments. And I became to be, I was very restless. I knew I did not, that my job in finance, although it provided a beautiful life, was not fulfilling me in my heart and my soul. And I've always had the desire to help people. I want to help people. How do I help people? And I was thinking, how do I do this? And my husband was like, Karla, I mean, your experience in your fertility journey, runs the full gamut. Stillbirth, natural pregnancy, pregnancy loss, failed IVF, the naturally pregnant. I mean, that is a lot of experience and
hmm
knowledge that you have. And I was like, well, who's going to listen to me? And then I was like, yes, no, you're onto something. So I prepared. I became a certified health and wellness coach. I started with a focus on pregnancy and conception. And that's why I started while I was working in finance, because I was preparing myself. And I didn't know where it would lead, but I never had felt more free, Jacqueline, like firmly grounded in my purpose. Like I have
Yeah.
so much desire and any energy and animal to help women because I felt so alone on this journey in so many different points. And when I lost my daughter, there was no support. I didn't know what was happening in the hospital. When I left the hospital with empty arms, I didn't have any support
hmm
besides family. But that's different too, because you look to the medical community for support, you know? And then during my early losses, my doctor said, you have to work on your blood pressure. It's too high. This is dangerous for you. Okay, well, how? How? There are ways to do that. Now I realize while on this healing journey, and everything that I learn and continue to learn, I'm learning to be able to help women who are struggling with exactly what I am struggling with and struggled with. I'm leading you to your own healing. Everybody's
mm
healing is not linear and it's very personal, but I'm giving you the tools like meditation, visualization, breath work, which is so powerful, getting you out of your head and into your body, then really gets into the trauma to be able to work through that, release, and then make space for what you really want to call in. What
mm
is your highest desire? And so, yeah, it was a leap of faith again into the unknown as an entrepreneur because I've never been an entrepreneur before. And it's hard work. It's hard work. I feel
Oh,
like I'm working
yes. That's
harder
a
now.
whole different podcast right there.
Yes, yes. I feel like I'm working harder now than I ever have in my entire life, but I've never been happier.
Yes.
Never been happier and more grounded in my purpose. And so the beauty of being able to turn my greatest pain into my purpose, obviously I would take back the death of my daughter in a heartbeat and
hmm
all the losses that I had, but my pain has purpose. And to me, that just warms my heart. It gives me purpose.
Yeah, thank you for that. And so I know that you shared earlier and we discussed before also on the conversations that are had, whether it's conversations of people who know you or just conversations in general outside in the communities, just in the world. And the conversation of, oh, either they ask because they don't know, or they ask because they're trying to be nosy. Like, what is the conversation? Anyone who's looking to support someone who's going through a fertility journey, right? A challenge. What are the conversations, if any, you would recommend?
Well, I know it's difficult. It's difficult on all ends. I think it's difficult
Mhm.
for the women, the families struggling with infertility, and then I think it's very difficult for family and friends surrounding and not knowing how to support these families. But I think you make it just really simple. It's just, how can I support you?
Mm,
Ask the person, how can I support you? Don't ask them when they're having a child, and don't ask them, te vas a poner vieja. You're getting older, are
mm,
you gonna be able to have kids? When are you having kids? Like these questions, you
yeah.
don't know what people are struggling with. And if they're not telling you, then you need to have empathy and compassion for people, and
Hmm.
you need to give them the freedom to live their lives without being nosy and judgy. A lot of that is I went through a lot of that with my family, like, oh, did you hear what happened?
Hmm.
Okay, yeah, you heard what happened. My daughter died at 23 weeks,
Hmm.
tragic. But did you ask me how I'm doing, how
Exactly.
I'm feeling, how
Exactly.
you can help me? Did you ask me to maybe talk about my daughter or talk about my experience? I think most of us just want to be heard. I feel
Hmm.
like it's so easy to ostracize people and so easy to let them isolate in their own pain. But when you love someone and you care about someone and you really want to help them, you offer them a hand.
Right.
You don't isolate them.
And also just, I'm here for whenever you
Yeah,
decide if you want to talk, if you want to share. I'm here. That's
it,
it.
it's
Like
that
if
simple.
let's say you see someone who just got married, like common sense is people are asking, oh, what's taking you so long to have a baby? Are you supposed to already be working on it? Or like, those are like from the old times conversation. Like
Yeah.
fast forward to now to this future that we're in, it's about there's women that are working compared to years when our families were around where not all women were working. They were
Yeah.
at home. And so the whole society and the visual of everything is different
Yeah.
compared to before in the past. So now it's just getting comfortable and understanding that everyone, first of all, is none of your business in saying, well, why haven't you had kids? What are you doing? How are you doing it? And all this stuff. Oh, just relax and go on vacation, instead of saying, maybe there's something wrong, maybe there's not, but I just want to say I'm here,
Yeah.
not even telling the person that, but just saying, oh, hey, I'm here, if they hear something, if they share something, just letting them know just that. If they don't hear anything and they see that the person got married is 2 years later, don't ask. It's none of your business. Just
Yeah.
be the person you are consistently with that person, right? Don't
Yeah.
change anything. And don't
Exactly.
feel, if you feel uncomfortable, then be transparent and say, I know, there's so many ways to ask it. There's no right way to ask the
Yeah.
question, but it's just being very sensitive and very intuitive as far as what's going on in the surroundings before you even ask a question,
Yeah.
right? And then with the coaching that you do, and then where you are currently, how does mental wellness come in there as far as how often do you do a mental wellness health check? How often do you recommend your clients to?
Yeah, well, I think mental wellness is so important, and that I think that ties into my morning practice. You know, I think we as Latinas, and maybe everyone in general, this is my experience, are conditioned to go, 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 go. Like even
Mhm.
when I'm sick, I'm like, I can sweat it out. It's like, whoa, where does that come from? Okay,
Mhm.
I've certainly been conditioned to be that way, and it's just such an automatic program that I don't even know that I'm doing it. And so taking rest, taking time does not equate to laziness. And so that is
Exactly.
something that I work on. I work on that probably daily. That, oh, well, I could do this for my business. Oh, I have this call, or I should work out. No, I'm going to take my cafecito outside and I'm going to sit down. And whatever I'm feeling called to do that day is what I'm going to do. I'm going to nourish my
Mm,
mind, my heart, my soul, and my body by giving myself 15 minutes each day
mm.
to just recharge my batteries.
Yeah. So it's like it's such an easy task that it becomes hard for people because, for me, I tell people if you can't make it work, schedule it. Put your alarm, a notification on your alarm, 15-minute break or whatever amount of time you need. At least do something to be proactive to take that time for you
Yeah.
because the time passes by so quickly. You can sit down to start working on something and it's already the end of the day. And have you gotten up? Have you eaten? Have you, taken a break to just refocus on where you're at and what else you have left for the rest of the day?
Yeah, you really have to prioritize it.
Mm-hmm.
I think society too, or maybe even I think of it like this, like, oh, self-care is like a manicure and pedicure. No,
No.
self-care is a way, way, way more than that.
Mm-hmm.
Way more than that. And I think when people, and I think we're so overstimulated as well. So taking time to really just sit with yourself and sit in your awareness is hard for people because we're all very used to, our phones. Like everything is at our fingertips.
Yeah.
Everything's happening. Boom,
Yeah.
boom, 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 boom. So it takes effort.
Mm-hmm.
Not only do you have to prioritize it, but it takes some effort and maybe it even feels a little uncomfortable. But on the
Mm.
other side of all that, if you make that time for yourself and your self-healing, you're going to see what opens up. So
Yeah.
many things, inspirations, feelings of love, feelings of joy, like connecting with vitamin J, vitamin joy
Mm.
is, and sitting in gratitude is
Oh,
it's the energetic frequency of that really can just change your whole perspective, you
oh yeah.
know?
Oh
Hmm.
yeah. And I know that you share with me your three pillars. Talk to me a little bit about the three pillars, which is connected to the services that you offer, preparing your body, your mind, and finding the community, what that entails.
Yeah, so I think that those three pillars are really what served me, and I know it's helping women as well. So prepare your body. It's not, I always say it comes first because I feel like it's not the easiest thing, but it is in a way. And preparing your body, I mean by nourishing your body properly,
Mm,
taking the right supplements, making sure you're getting adequate sleep. Those things, removing toxins, those are all things that you can do. Preparing your mind, now that takes more work. It's more, it's more painful. It's
yeah.
more sitting in awareness. It's deeper work, because sometimes we like to just keep pushing, 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 pushing force. If I force, 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 the outcome I want, I'll get. But
Mm,
when you come up against this fertility, it takes moving inward.
mm,
It takes moving inward to really trying to identify what it is that is blocking you. Maybe it's energetically, maybe it's a past trauma, maybe it's the fact that you can't get pregnant and what that means for your life, what that means for you as a woman.
mhm,
These are very, very, very difficult things to sit in and to allow yourself to feel what it is you need to feel.
mm,
And again, as women too, we're not allowed to feel angry. We're not allowed
mm,
to. I felt for me also as a Latina tying this back, like I felt so many things were so hard. Everything seemed so hard growing up. My parents struggled, financially. You know, I had to really work hard, like even filling out applications for college, like I did. There's so many things that I had to
mhm.
take ownership of at such a young age that I felt like getting pregnant and having babies was supposed to be easy, maybe even
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, and
And
then,
so,
it got overly complicated with everything
yeah,
else. It became more like a like a robotic type,
Yeah, and then
activity.
it became work. Another thing to
Yeah.
add to the list of things you have to work really, 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 really hard for. And I became resentful of that. I resented
Mm-hmm.
that. And so working on your mind means working on your mind, your body, and your soul, and realizing what it is that maybe you need to move, what it is you have to release, what it is you have to identify, what it is you need to feel. So that was the
Mm-hmm.
real that was the hard work for me. And then finding your community also is so important. I have to say, from my IVF experience, the one beautiful thing was the community because
Mm-hmm.
when I was going through IVF, it was the beginning of the pandemic and they had shut down the clinics. And so they do offer counseling sessions, but it was you had to go in person. So who has the time to go in for all
Mm-hmm.
those tests, the blood draws, everything like that, and then go in person? Nobody has the time for that. So
Yeah.
they offered it on Zoom. And that opened my eyes to what community can do for you emotionally, physically, and mentally. Because to just be in community with other women, sharing our stories, sharing our pain, sharing our traumas, and just hearing those words like "me too." I
Mm-hmm.
understand your pain, and I'm going to hold you. You can talk to me. I understand. I know how hard it is. I know what you're going through, and I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm here to support you. And to allow yourself to be vulnerable enough to be supported, that's real courage, but it's so powerful.
Mm. And thank you for sharing that. And thank you for sharing one word that you just shared recently, resent. I went through feeling resentful. Why me?
Yeah.
Right? And what's up with everybody else and what's up with me? Everybody else seems to be okay. Like, and feeling resentful.
Yeah.
Yes, that you shared it and something in my mind just clicked and in my body. And it's like, yes, I felt that. I did feel resentful at some point because it's like, what is going on? Like,
Yeah.
this is not supposed to be happening.
Exactly. No, I did everything right. Like, why
Yeah.
me? Why? I know. I just had that epiphany the other day when I was writing this post about confessions of infertile Latina. This all just came to me when
Mm.
I really sat in it, what it felt like from our nuanced perspective,
Mm-hmm.
what it really felt like with all these conflicting emotions and conflicting ideas and conflicting opinions. What did it feel like? Yeah,
Mm.
really resentful,
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
resentful.
Yeah. So thank you for, sharing what you just shared and all that. So if you have one superpower, what would that be?
I think it would be emotional resilience.
Mm,
I think because I mean, I feel like I took hit after hit after
mm,
hit. I felt like, I was stuck in like a rip current and the waves just kept
mhm,
crashing over my head. And anytime I was able to pop up for a breath, I would get swallowed by another wave. And I felt like my grief had swallowed me up. I felt
mm,
like this infertility had swallowed me whole. I
mhm,
felt like because I lost a child in such a tragic way that the universe and God had owed me 12, 15 kids. No matter how many I wanted, I should have had them. Do you know what I mean?
yes,
Again, resentida,
yes, yes,
resentful that
yes.
that wasn't happening. That wasn't happening for me. And I think that on this path, I had to come to a deeper understanding and awareness of myself. And I had to
Mm,
come to a place of forgiveness.
mm, mm,
Forgiveness, forgiveness, forgiving myself because I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do
exactly.
anything wrong. If I could have saved my daughter, I would have saved my daughter. I did not do anything wrong. And so I had to remove that and set myself free from my own shackles.
Mm,
Because the person that was really keeping me in those shackles was me.
yeah,
Because I kept blaming myself and in my sorrow and in my pain and in my anger and in my resentfulness kept trying to just push forward. I'm not going to deal with it. I'm not. No, I'm just going to keep going, keep going, keep going. Because if I keep going, I'm going to get what I want. Well, no,
mm,
my life taught me something different, taught me another lesson that I had to learn. And I'm grateful for it because I think I'm a better person. I'm a
mm,
better wife. I'm a better sister. daughter, and most important, I'm a better mother for it.
Awesome. And so from what you've shared and we've talked about today, like what are a few, one or two takeaways that you hope the listeners take with them?
I think the number one thing is that you're not alone.
Mm,
Not alone. I know you feel alone, and I think I understand how it is to self-isolate. You think you will feel better in isolation when nobody knows your pain and you put on a happy face or you put on a strong face because we're supposed to be strong too, as
mhm,
Latinas strong. It's okay to not be strong. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be resentful. It's okay. All of those feelings are okay. And you deserve to find happiness. You are worthy of the life that you've always dreamed for. And maybe it doesn't look exactly the way you had it in your story as a little girl, but it doesn't mean it can't be beautiful.
mm.
Doesn't mean it can't be beautiful.
Awesome. Thank you for that. That's so on point. It's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Is there something that, I didn't go over or we didn't discuss that you would like to share?
Hmm, I don't know. I feel
You
like
think
this
we
is such a
covered it
beautiful,
all?
yeah, I
How
think
how
it's such
can
a
they
beautiful.
connect with you and, if they're interested in your services or just connect with you and follow you?
Yeah, so you can connect with me on Instagram. I am sharing my story there. I'm sharing my advice there. I'm sharing my transformation, and I'm also reaching my hand out to people, to women who are suffering. You're not alone, and you don't have to hand over your power. We are such powerful, powerful beings when we step into that belief.
Mm,
And you don't have to do that work alone because I know it's so overwhelming and daunting. I can help you and we can do it together.
awesome. Well, thank you so much. I'm so excited we had this conversation. I know that we had connected a few weeks ago, and I was like, yes, we need to have this conversation. It's just going to be amazing. So thank you for sharing and for opening up. And I hope that, your journey with helping other women will flourish because it is so needed. So thank you for your platform. And so, yeah, so thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Jacqueline, for having me. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, with that said, thank you everyone for tuning in to another episode and stay tuned for more of Inspired by Jacqueline. Make sure to follow, subscribe, and make a comment. Take care.